Greetings, class. Welcome to your final virtual lesson in literature for the week. Yesterday, you took the quiz on Walrus and the Carpenter and Quilt. Today, we're going to spend some time today talking about Langston Hughes, talking about the Harlem Renaissance, and then also talking about some of his poems, and then we'll take a quiz on this tomorrow. So listen up, you'll be quizzed on it. What I would invite you to do first is, and maybe you've done this already, but in the lesson, you see the link right here on the slide. In the lesson preview that I gave you on the website on the EduBox page, and then on the daily list email of the assignments, there's a link to a short video on Langston Hughes and the Harlem Renaissance. Now, Harlem is a place, a borough of New York City. And at the time, and even today, it was an mostly African Americans lived in that area. And Langston Hughes was a man who, with his poetry known as jazz poetry, really sort of, not only did some things, wrote some poems and stories and other things that were enjoyed by in the African American culture, but also in the white culture as well. So you could say that his work was not just appreciated by African Americans, but it was appreciated by all. And so some of his poetry, especially, particularly, just sort of integrated different races during a time known as the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s. All right, so hopefully you'll get to watch that video. I would encourage you to do that. We're going to talk about something called figurative language. Again, another literary term that we learned earlier this school year. Figurative language. There's going to be a poem that we're going to study known as Dream Variations is the title, and it has figurative language. Now, the definition of figurative language is language expanded beyond its ordinary literal meaning. It uses comparisons, sounds like a metaphor, but here's how it's different than that. It uses comparisons to achieve new effects, to provide fresh insights, or to express a relationship between things essentially alike. That's the part at the end there, is how figurative language and metaphor differ. So remember metaphor in quilt that we heard last time? The metaphor was a quilt is like the United States. Now, compare the two, and they are completely not really the same. But in Langston Hughes' poem, Dream Variations, we're going to talk about, he's going to show some relationships between things that actually, they're pretty alike. And he's going to kind of show why. And the fact that they are alike helps us to really understand what he's trying to say through his poetry. The very first poem we're going to talk about is a poem by the name of Dreams. And his poems are pretty short, so I'll just read this. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. So when he's talking about dreams, what is he talking about? He's not talking about the kind of dream that, I woke up and guess what I dreamt about? I dreamt that I ate a large marshmallow and my pillow was gone. No, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about like hopes and dreams, right? And when you think of like if you were to tell someone, I have dreams, what would that be about? Most likely at this stage it would be about like what you want to be when you grow up. Maybe where you want to go to high school or college, or what job you want, or just what you see your life being. Something to aspire to, something to give you hope. And that's exactly what the theme of this poem is hope. Hold on to those dreams, for if they die, life is a broken-winged bird. So a broken-winged bird's going to have trouble flying, right? And if you don't have dreams, you're going to have trouble soaring in your life. So the figurative language is life. If you don't dream, your life is like a bird that has a broken wing. So there's the figurative language being used there. Second stanza there, hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. So if you try to plant crops in a frozen field, and that's why farmers don't do it, because they know nothing will come up, right? And so that's what life is like when you don't dream. All right, so this is what, and again, there's figurative language there, right? It's like is a broken or is a barren field, okay, frozen with snow. In other words, if you don't have dreams, you're not going to grow anything. You're not going to plant crops. You're not going to succeed. All right, let's talk about the questions there on page 330. Hopefully everyone's there. What kind of dreams do you think the speaker's talking about? Well, most likely it's, what to do with one's life. Number 2, what 2 metaphors are used to describe a life without dreams? Talking about the metaphors, broken bird with a broken wing that cannot fly, and then also barren field frozen with snow, talking about when you don't have dreams, that's what it's like. In what ways are the metaphors appropriate? Well, we mentioned that already. If you don't have dreams, you can't do much, right? You won't go anywhere. Number 3, how important do you think dreams are? That's really up to you, right? Do you think they're important? It's important to have something to shoot for, have a goal of some kind in life. Is that going to help drive you forward in a positive way if that's the case? Probably. Notice that it talked about, I mentioned figurative language before. We're going to get into the next poem that has figurative language. This is, again, metaphor, just like we heard in Quilt yesterday. And how do we know it's not simile? Metaphor and simile are very similar. Life is a broken winged bird. Life is a barren field. So if it were to say life is like, then it's simile. But this says life is, so we call that metaphor. Okay? Moving on to dream variations. To fling my arms wide in some place of the sun, to whirl and to dance till the white day is done, then rest at cool evening beneath a tall tree, while night comes on gently, dark like me, that is my dream. To fling my arms wide in the face of the sun, dance, whirl, whirl, till the quick day is done, rest at pale evening, a tall slim tree, night coming tenderly, black like me. Okay. So number 1, summarize what the speaker dreams of doing here. All right, what does the speaker dream of doing? Okay, dancing, right? Whirling in the sun, it talks about. Number 2, what does variation mean and how does it apply to this poem? Variation means a change in degree or form. Okay, so a change of some kind of, you vary something, you change it. The 2 standards present a slightly varied version of the same dream. So basically both of them are talking about the same dream, okay, but just different versions of it, different variations of it. So then let's go to where it says figurative language. It says number 1 here, compare and contrast the figurative language in the 2 parts of the poem. Stanza 1, the language is sort of gentler and softer, okay? But it's more frenetic and stronger in stanza 2, okay? Rest at palm evening, a tall slim tree, night coming tenderly. But yet it's a little bit more, well, night comes on gently, in the first stanza. So it kind of varies just the effect of the words that he puts down. And then the second one here, to what does the speaker compare himself? To night. Dark like me, and stanza 1's black like me in stanza 2, all right? And the last simile is more powerful than the first. Not just dark, but black, okay? Obviously, Langston Hughes was African-American, right? And, at this time, just like we talked about with Maya Angelou, there was a sense of discrimination that maybe you could not you could not have the same dreams that white people could have because those would probably not succeed. Langston Hughes sort of just transcended all of that and went beyond all of that because his work appealed to both African Americans and whites. And during this Harlem Renaissance, that was kind of the big deal here. And that's why we're still talking about it 100 years later. There was a place called the Cotton Club in Harlem, and This Cotton Club, though Harlem was mostly African American, this Cotton Club only allowed whites. However, many of the performers at this Cotton Club, like Duke Ellington and others, were African American. And this Cotton Club was it was filled every night with white patrons, customers, watching this performance and this music that they were demonstrating. And so, I think the Harlem Renaissance sort of gave African Americans some hope that maybe their dreams could be achieved. Whatever they dreamt, it didn't have to just be an African American dream. It could just be just dreams in general. And Langston Hughes did a good job of having his work be appealing to those of other races. And then the last Langston Hughes poem, we're running out of time here. We got like 4 minutes. So I'm just going to pause or have you pause it, read through it, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, go ahead. All right, I'm going to assume that you're back now after reading it. So who is the speaker in this poem, Mother to Son? All right, speaker is the mother. She's had a hard life. And according to the speaker, why can't the son give up? Well, she's never given up in spite of life's hardships. A crystal stair. What would a crystal stair be like? A crystal stair would be something of crystal. It'd be easy to climb and also beautiful to look at, something crystal. And what's the speaker's life like? It's like the opposite of a crystal stair. It's rough, broken, bare. Notice that there's a little bit of a pattern of rhythm in this poem. The pattern of rhythm, and maybe read through it again just to see, but if you can tell this, but the pattern is kind of like going up the stairs. It's almost like you're catching your breath. And I'm just going to pick it up here, line 6, 7, 8. But all the time, I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark. Okay, so it's like you're out of breath. You're climbing these stairs. And lines 14 to 20. Don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing, and life for me ain't been no crystal stair. So it's like a mother imparting wisdom to their child. Don't give up. Keep going. So dream variations, mother to son, very much was a lot really good motivation for people when they read this to keep pursuing their dreams, whether they're African American or not. All right. So a little bit more. Let's got a couple minutes here. So let's get you ready for this quiz now. All right. So in dreams, the speaker, back to dreams, speaker is talking about hope. Okay, dreams are hopes. A broken winged bird and a barren field are both used in dreams to describe what life would be like without dreams. The poem Dream Variations speaks of hopes and dreams that are not just dreamt, but realized. And then the speaker in Dream Variations describes night as tender. Okay. So the night coming tenderly. Okay, so know that for the quiz. Mother to son now conveys the need to keep trying through someone's lifetime. Okay, don't give up. Even if it's not a crystal stair, you just keep plugging away. All right. Harlem Renaissance. Know that Langston Hughes was the inventor of jazz poetry. There's a jazz music that comes from this, very similar to it. And also one of the most influential things of the Harlem Renaissance and why we're still talking about it today is that it integrated black and white American culture. Right? That was the significance of the Harlem Renaissance and why we're still talking about it 100 years later. Langston Hughes was a big part of that, by the way. A couple more things for the quiz. In dreams, the speaker, again, talking about hopes. Mother to son definitely expresses hope and courage, right? Keep going, be brave, have courage. And then in dreams, know that the speaker tells us that dreams make life special. If you don't have dreams, you have nothing to shoot or strive for. And not only did Langston Hughes tell us to do that, but he also applied that to his life as well. All right, so you're ready for the quiz. You might want to watch this again before the quiz tomorrow.